All right, so in this piano lesson today, we're going to talk about playing with a metronome. This is one of the most important skills I think that a lot of beginners shy away from. They try using a metronome, they say it's too hard, it's not for them, they just like to count, keep time on their own. And I understand that, and there is a time and place when it's okay to count on your own, but a metronome is still an invaluable tool for just learning to keep a steady tempo, because our counting is never going to be as precise as a metronome. Just like if we wanted to count to exactly 1 minute, we would rely more on a stopwatch or a clock than our own counting. Even though our sense of counting is good, it's not going to be as good as a clock. So a metronome, think of it kind of like that. It's really the best way to keep time. So if you have tried to play with a metronome and you feel like it's not for you, I encourage you to watch this video and just try out some exercises with me to learn how to do it. So I have a built-in keyboard on my metronome, I have a built-in metronome on my keyboard, excuse me. Many keyboards do have a built-in metronome feature. There's plenty of apps you can get on your phone. You could literally Google the word metronome and there's an online metronomes that come up. You can buy physical metronomes. Whatever you want to do, they all kind of do the same thing. And so basically what a metronome is, if you're not familiar, is you set it to a certain speed, which is a number, which we call the tempo. Some people call it the BPM, the beats per minute. So right now this is set at 60. And usually the sound is some type of click. All different metronomes have a different type of click. And it's just going to click at the exact same speed every time. So this is the speed of 60 beats per minute. That means if we played this for a minute, there would be exactly 60 clicks within 1 minute. Same as how we count a minute, 60 seconds. Now with this, there's different speeds. I can go up to 80. We can hear now it's happening faster, but it's still steady. There's still the same amount of space in between. So generally we play tempos as slow as 50, really is the slowest we generally do. And it can go all the way up to some songs 180, but don't be confused by how high it is. So 170, and this concept may sound confusing. When we play quarter notes, if I played one note per click at 170, like this, right, I'm playing one note per click. If I go to a speed of like 85, let's say, which is exactly half of 170, right? The quarter notes would be half the speed. But if I played eighth notes, that's the same as the 170 speed, right? So hopefully that kind of idea makes sense, that even if you're going half, if there's eighth notes, it's going to feel faster than it actually is. So anyways, just a little idea there. But anyways, let's talk about some exercises to play with a metronome. So if you struggle with playing with a metronome, what I would do is take a metronome and set it to like a speed of 60 or 70, something on the slower side, right? And all you're going to do, you don't have to put this to a particular song. We could just do it with a single note, because I find it's easier to play with a metronome when you're really familiar with what you're going to play. And you can play something as simple as like C, D, E, F, G, F, E, D, C. So this is a really simple 5-finger pattern. C, D, E, F, G, F, E, D, C. And your goal is just to play one note with each click of the metronome, like this. Once you feel like you can do it and you're doing it with the metronome, you can move it up to like a speed of 70. I like to work in increments of 10 and do the same thing at 70. Same thing. All right, you can move it up to 80. Same idea. All right, so this is a simple exercise you can do that's just going to get you used to playing with a metronome. I personally feel that a lot of times that we struggle to play with a metronome, it's actually because we're not familiar with the song. If you're still trying to figure out where the notes are in the song and you're still, oh, do I need to move my hand here? Do I need to play a D? Do I need to play an E? If that's still your thought process, you're actually not ready to use the metronome yet. The metronome you need to use once you're really comfortable and familiar with a song. Otherwise, the metronome's going to keep clicking. You're going to start looking for the note, and you're going to fall off beat. So this little exercise allows you to play something simple enough that doesn't require you to think much and just allows you to focus on the timing. So now you can advance this exercise as much as you want. So that was just a simple way, and basically by playing one note with each click, I've moved back to 60 here. By doing this, you're essentially playing quarter notes, right? Which is 1 beat's worth. 1 click is equal to 1 beat. You can do half notes and do 2 beats per note. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and so on. And some of you may be thinking this just seems so easy to use, to just do such a simple exercise. It will work, because what you're actually practicing is you're practicing how to keep a steady tempo, right? You're figuring out how to stay exactly on beat and keep the exact same speed. So when you do start doing this with pieces, this work that you put in now will start to relate to that. Now, the last idea, what you can do with this, once again, I'll stay at a speed of 60, just to keep things simple, is now when we get into eighth notes. And if you're not familiar with eighth notes get half of a beat. And the way we count them is we say like 1 and they basically come in between 1 and 2, like 1, 2, 3, 4. If I was counting eighth notes, I'm going to count in between the beats exactly halfway like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And this is where I feel a lot of people struggle with the metronome is once eighth notes gets involved. So we're going to practice this with this simple exercise that will allow us to do so, right? So I'm going to do the same thing, doing just C, D, E, F, G, F, E, D, C, and just counting 1 and 2 and like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and just like that. And you may notice you fall off beat. So here's how you want to think about it, is that the eighth notes, the ands, are coming in between 2 clicks. So if you have 1 click here, let's just imagine this is our metronome click 1, metronome click 2. The and is right in the middle, similar to counting 1, 1.5, 2. 1.5 is not an actual number that we count. It's just kind of the midway point. And it's the same with the and. The and is not a click. It's not 1 and, right? It's coming in between. We don't hear it on the metronome. We don't hear the eighth note, the and there. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So you want to try and get as close as you can halfway. And then when you're playing, what you could think with this exercise is that every other click, right, or every other number, every other note, I should say, is going to fall on a click, right? So this is going to be your 1, and then the E is going to be your 2, and the and's going to come in the middle. So as long as the C is on the first beat and that's on the second beat, you'll be playing eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right. So those are some really simple exercises you can do with the metronome to learn how to play with it, because the more friendly you can become with the metronome, the better you are going to be able to play music. It is a tool that is really crucial. No matter how good of a tempo we may think we have, how good we are at keeping time and counting steady, the metronome is kind of the true test to how good we are. So now, depending on what type of song you're playing, there are times where you don't want to follow a metronome too precisely because you become a little bit robotic. But that becomes a choice you have to make later on in your playing. You'll start to learn about a concept called rubato, which is the idea of kind of slowing down and speeding up with the metronome. But for now, this skill is so good, you can do it one hand at a time, right? If you really want to do more work, you could do both hands at a time, doing the same thing, right? We want to take all thinking out of the equation so that we can put all our attention on how steady of a tempo we're doing. And you can just keep going back and forth. Maybe aim to do this 5 times in a row before moving on to maybe eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And the last thing I will say is when you're playing with the metronome, sometimes it's hard to know if you've stayed on beat or if you're falling off the beat. There's times where I'm working with students and we have the metronome on and they just keep playing and they don't even recognize they've fallen behind the beat or they've gone faster and they're not even playing with the metronome anymore. So a good thing to do is, depending on what device you're using for the metronome, find some type of device to record with, whether that's a phone, a computer, any other device you can find, and record yourself while you play to this. And you'll be able to listen back and hear, am I playing with the clicks? Am I coming before the clicks? Am I coming after the clicks? If you're coming before the clicks, then most likely you're playing faster than the actual speed. If you're coming after the clicks, then you're probably going a little slow. So recording yourself is a huge way to learn. And as always, it takes practice. Don't expect to perfect playing with the metronome on day 1, week 1, month 1. It takes time. Just keep up a good practice routine. Just 5 minutes of this every single day. Your tempo is going to get so much steadier. Your internal sense of tempo, all your playing is going to improve so much by using the metronome. Like I said, it's a tool we use. Eventually, we learn to play songs without it, but this helps strengthen our own internal sense of rhythm. All right, so I hope you found this lesson helpful. If you have any questions, as always, send me an email, digitalpianoschool@gmail.com. You can also just go down to the comments and leave a comment. I always respond to the comments. So I hope you enjoyed watching. Please subscribe to keep this page up and running for more free lessons. And I hope to see you again soon for another piano lesson.